Okay, let's dive into this incredibly fun and whimsical explainer today. We're taking a little journey straight into the colorful, wonderful town of Giggleton to uncover a story that literally perfectly captures the magic of learning. It's the tale of Professor Pogo and his absolutely incredible invention, the Bubble Machine 3000.
Now, to really understand this invention, we first need to meet the inventor himself, Professor Pogo. And right off the bat, you might notice something, well, a bit unusual about his wardrobe. He's a brilliant scientist, right? But he insists on wearing completely mismatched socks every single day. Why? Well, he actually has a very specific and highly scientific reason for this fashion choice. He firmly believes that wearing mismatched socks helps his brain think in zigzags.
And that brings us to this whole concept of zigzag thinking. By throwing off his normal routine right down to his toes, Professor Pogo unlocks a creative thinking process that doesn't just go in a straight, boring line from A to B. Instead, his mind bounces around, making these bold, totally unexpected connections. And it was exactly this zigzag thinking that led him to invent something truly magnificent. I mean, he didn't just build any machine. He built the Bubble Machine 3000.
Section 1. The Bubble Machine 3000 bubbles filled with ideas.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that the Bubble Machine 3000 isn't your standard party toy. When you turn it on, it doesn't just blow normal bubbles filled with soapy water and air. Oh, no, no, no. This extraordinary machine blows bubbles that contain actual, tangible ideas inside them. Just imagine being in Giggleton on the day he first turned it on. The very first bubble floated gracefully up from the machine, shimmering in the sunlight, and suddenly, it spoke. It literally shouted out loudly to everyone watching, "Did you know plants make their own food using sunlight?" Okay, I'm going to pause for a second to let you think about that one at home. Do you know the scientific name for that? That's right, it's photosynthesis. The bubble proudly declared, "It's called photosynthesis." And the moment it did, the children watching completely gasped in awe and then just immediately started giggling with absolute delight. And why wouldn't they? Because as the bubble shared this amazing scientific fact, it popped with this highly satisfying snap and sprinkled all the kids below with a shower of sparkling green glitter. How cool is that? Section 2. Invisible air and tiny robots. The machine heats up. So let's move to and see how this builds, because the Bubble Machine 3000 was honestly just getting warmed up. After that initial glittery success, the machine began to whir and click with even more energy, pumping out a whole new batch of spectacular, idea-filled bubbles. And the second bubble? It didn't just float gently like the first one. No way. This one shot out of the machine and zoomed around the town square like a high-speed rocket. As it zipped past the astonished children, it yelled out at top speed, "Air takes up space, even though you can't see it." Now, as it was zooming around like a rocket, aggressively shouting about invisible air taking up space, it actually bumped straight into a nearby balloon. Now, keep in mind, in Giggleton, even the objects seemed to have personality. So this grumpy balloon just wasn't having it. The balloon shouted right back at the speedy bubble, "Tell me something I don't know." Oh, the crowd was just loving the show at this point. But then, the machine started rumbling louder than ever. The nozzle expanded, and out came a massive, huge bubble. It drifted slowly into the air, looking visibly heavier than the rest. And as the kids leaned in and looked closely, they saw it wasn't just empty air inside. Suspended right in the middle of this giant sphere of soap was a tiny, squeaking robot. The robot looked out through the soapy film at all the kids, and in this high-pitched, metallic little squeak, it announced its grand idea. Innovation is about solving problems in new ways. And right after teaching everyone this really fantastic definition of innovation, solving problems in new ways, the tiny robot suddenly sneezed. Achoo! The sheer force of the sneeze caused the enormous bubble to burst instantly. But instead of green glitter this time, it burst into a massive, colorful rain of jelly beans. The children absolutely lost their minds, scrambling for the candy and cheering at the top of their lungs, "Best science experiment ever!" Section 3. A wild knowledge blizzard. Okay, so after the magnificent jelly bean rain, the Bubble Machine 3000 went completely, utterly wild. It wasn't just one or two bubbles at a time anymore. It was a total blizzard of knowledge. Bubbles were just pouring out of the machine, completely filling the entire sky over the town of Giggleton. Incredible facts were popping everywhere. One bubble burst open and taught the kids exactly how magnets stick to the fridge. Another one exploded nearby and explained the phases of the lunar cycle, showing why the moon looks different every single night. And then, zooming through the crowd, one very loud, very cheeky bubble shouted out, "Never put a cat in a washing machine." So, the crucial point is, while the machine was utterly brilliant, sometimes it got a little carried away with its enthusiastic advice. When that cheeky bubble shouted about the cat in the washing machine, well, Professor Pogo had to quickly step in and correct the record. He pointed out to the cheering kids, that's not science, that's common sense.
Section 4. What is science really? The Giggleton lesson.
As the bubbles finally settled down and the last of the jelly beans were eaten, something amazing had happened. Giggleton didn't just have a fun afternoon. It soon became the absolute smartest and, without a doubt, the funniest town in the entire world. But more importantly, the children walked away with a profound new understanding of what science really is at its core. And this brilliantly illustrates the real lesson of Professor Pogo's zigzag invention. You see, the children of Giggleton learned that science isn't just about memorizing dry facts from some heavy textbook. True science is a vibrant blend. It's about facts, yes, for sure, but it's equally about having deep curiosity. It requires the creativity to think outside the box, just like the professor's mismatched socks. And sometimes, actually, a lot of the time, to really learn and innovate, it requires a healthy sprinkle of silliness. Which leaves us with a rather wonderful thought to wrap up our explainer today. If you had your very own Bubble Machine 3000 sitting right there in your living room, what ideas would your bubbles share with the world? Think about it, keep thinking in